Hi everyone. All right, so it's even later now. It is 20 to 10 and we're gonna make some pumpkin pie. I'm gonna do both the crust and the filling from scratch. So yeah, preheat your oven to 350 before you get started, and make sure your butter and your shortening is cold. All right, let's get to the ingredients. Okay, so we have all of our ingredients spread out here. I have 2.5 cups of flour. I ran out of cute little bowls, so we've got measuring cups, but that's okay. We've got 1 teaspoon of salt. We've got 2/3 cup of Crisco, any kind of vegetable shortening. Make sure it's cold. So I stuck mine in the refrigerator for probably about a half an hour. So it's definitely cold. And we have 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's been sitting in the refrigerator, and it's also been cubed. And we have our 1/2 cup of ice water. So measure 1/2 cup, and then throw a bunch of ice in there. I'll explain more about that when we mix it. All right, let's mix it up and make our dough. We're first going to mix in, I didn't grab the whisk. We're going to whisk together the flour, so 2, and make sure everything is like leveled. Baking is an exact science. Cooking, you just throw everything wherever and you just guess. Everything here is definitely leveled. If you have too much of something when baking, it can ruin it. So we have 2.5 leveled cups of flour, and hopefully I can pick our teaspoon up. 1 teaspoon of leveled salt. And we're just gonna kind of stir that all up a little bit. Make sure it's all incorporated. We've got our potatoes in the oven. Thankfully, they also cook at 350, so we'll be using the same oven once they're done. They've got about 10 more minutes, so I may have to stop this and tend to that. Multitasking. All right, just stick that right there. So once you've gotten all that, pretty well mixed together, we're going to add our butter and our shortening. You don't want to overwork this part, so you want to add all of your butter and your shortening. You can do it all at the same time. I prefer to do it all at the same time, so we're going to add our 6 tablespoons of butter. And this is going to give you a nice flaky crust. And our 2/3 cup of vegetable shortening, which I'm going to scoop a little out on my finger. So if you have pastry cutters, awesome. If not, don't worry. You can either use forks, or I prefer just regular butter knives. And you want to kind of like cut the dough. So you just kind of want to keep cutting this. So I put the way the knives are going, they're going very close together. And I'm not really stirring, but I'm, cutting it through. And eventually you're going to end up with like little pea-sized like balls. Sometimes I grab a fork. You can do 2 forks together. I get clumsy with the fork sometimes. And it does take a little bit. But I use the knives. It still will not overwork. Sometimes I just cut through. There we go, it's starting to get there now. So this is the secret to all the homemade doughs. Making it nice and flaky is the Crisco and the butter. I think I am going to pull out some forks, or just a fork. I'm going to just kind of go in there and smush the fork in there a little bit. My mother is absolutely amazing at pie making. I used to sit in the kitchen with her, and this would be my job, and I'd get so frustrated sometimes, just because it really is, it's work on your hands. It takes a little bit of talent. You feel your forearms starting to burn a little, but it ends up coming out so good. So we have mostly pea-sized. There's some a little bit bigger, which is okay. But it's mostly incorporated. So now we are going to add the cold water. Excuse me. So we're only going to add from that half a cup of cold water. We're going to just kind of drizzle it on top, and we're only going to do a tablespoon at a time. All right, so we're going to dip in there. Don't put any ice cubes in, so try to avoid the ice cubes. And as close as you can to a tablespoon, and just drizzle it on top. Okay. And this is going to be time consuming, so I may end up fast forwarding. So we're just going to mix that through. And I may have to stop this to go tend to the potatoes too. So we'll add another, drizzle another tablespoon on top. And we're just going to keep repeating that step. And if you see like large clumps, just, cut it with your fork or knife, or if you have the little fancy dough cutters. I'm trying to keep my eye on the timer. Try to pour it in there. So you want to do it a tablespoon at a time, just to make sure you're not adding too much. So it's starting to get a lot better now. I'm going to cut some of these little pieces that I'm seeing of the chunks of butter. That's why, another reason why I like them to use the knives. You can do the same thing with a fork and just kind of, if you see, I'll show you. If you see a clump, like that size, can just take it and just press it, and it'll kind of squish it. So this way you can use the fork that way too. Do another tablespoon of cold ice water. It's getting very close to how we want it. See how it's kind of getting a little bit clumpier? We actually want it that way. All right, after this one, I am going to stop the camera so that I can get the potatoes out of the oven. They are looking very, very yummy. All right, so I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna get the potatoes out of the oven and we'll be right back. Okay, so hopefully I have the camera set up the same way. So we're gonna continue. The potatoes are back in the oven for, now it's 8 more minutes, but we're gonna do another tablespoon of our ice water. I'm just gonna sprinkle it around, drizzle it over there. I'm gonna cut it. I'm going to push down on the side over here. It's just looking like it's not mixing as well, but you see how it's starting to get even more, I guess, little balls of dough. That's what we want. So we're probably only going to do 2 more tablespoons, just to make sure that all this other stuff is incorporated in there. So I'm going to do another one. And you never really know how much ice water you're going to need. That's why it's always best to work 1 tablespoon at a time. And you don't want to stick your hand in there just because your hands are really warm and they're going to melt the butter. And if the butter gets melted, sorry, I have a frog in my throat. If the butter gets melted, it won't be so flaky. So we don't want the butter to melt until we put it in the oven. I think my voice is used to being in bed sleeping at this hour, but that's okay. I'll take a nap with the girls tomorrow. So we'll do another one. We'll see what we're at. But I think 1 more tablespoon is going to do it. I'm not sure how many of you make your own pies from scratch. Hopefully my hands aren't getting in the way. I just realized that. Like I said, I haven't been wearing the camera on my head, just because the battery, I don't know what's wrong with it. We have to figure that out. But it keeps the camera keeps turning off. So, you know what? I might do 1 more just because this side is still a little floury. that's actually looking really, really well. I'm going to take my fork and just stir the fork in there. Because like I said, I don't really want to stick my hands in there just yet. Yeah, that looks really, really good. So it all looks pretty wet. So that's kind of, and see how it just kind of, like all those little pea size, I don't know what you call them, pieces of dough are in there. So that's how you kind of know that it's pretty much finished. And it is sticking to the fork like a dough. So we'll get to rolling this out, all right? We'll be right back. All right, so this is where I tend to make a little bit of a mess. I still have the knives in there, but our dough is all nice and balled up. I just took the sweet potatoes out so I won't be interrupted anymore. But you want to work on a floured surface. So we're just gonna throw some flour. We want our hands to be nice and floured too. So this is an old cutting board. So I just want to make sure the flour gets in every crevice, and any extra I'm just going to push off to the side. I'm going to need it. I probably should take my rings off for this. I'm going to do that right now, or try to. I don't know the last time I actually took my rings off. All right, so we're gonna take our knives out. I'm gonna stick them in our sink. Hopefully they don't fall. And we're just gonna get our dough into a ball. I'm just gonna put it on the cutting board so you can watch me ball it. As it's coming out, I'm balling it because I don't want to lose anything to the floor. Bino has gone to bed by now. So we're just gonna kind of keep pressing this and folding it. So we want to press it together. Make sure it's all nice and stuck together, and we're just going to fold it over. You can fold it towards yourself if that works. It takes a little bit of strength, especially if you are not a tall person, which I am not. I'm gonna fold it this way. All right, so that is definitely folded enough times for me. It's all in a nice little shape. I can still see chunks of butter in there, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want. It's not too wet. It's not too dry. It's a nice little ball of dough. And it doesn't feel sticky. If it was sticky, you'd put a little bit more flour on you. But yeah, so I think that's good. Whew. So we're gonna wrap this in plastic, and we're gonna stick it in the refrigerator to get cold, and then we're gonna roll it out. Good morning, everyone. So I actually fell asleep. So this has actually been in the refrigerator for more than 2 hours, which is completely fine. So we're actually going to cut this in half. This is 2 pie crusts. And get it, you know, as even as you can. Oops, it's sticking. It's very early. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's see. Yeah, they feel about the same weight. So you can freeze the other pie crusts. I'm just going to leave it out in case there's any extra from this one. So we can put it back in with that one. So we're gonna roll this out. We're gonna flour our surface. I have one of those Silpat things just to, you know, it's easy to pick up and put into. I'm not very good at wrapping the dough around the roller, so I just use this so that I can flip it right into my my little pie dish. So we're just gonna flour it just to make sure it's not sticky. I have the oven. I'm preheating that to 425. Nothing really ever sticks to this rolling pin, but I'm gonna flour it anyway. So it's very, very hard right now just because it's been in the refrigerator, which is good. That's what you want. I'm just gonna roll it into a little bit of a better ball. Okay. And then we're just gonna roll it out into our crust. So I roll towards me first, starting from the middle, and then I roll away. I might have to flip this around just because it's still a little hard. There it goes. And you can see how flaky it's going to be. All right, we're gonna roll it as round as we can get it. We want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm gonna throw a little bit of flour on top of the pie crust. So I got really, really tired last night because I was attempting to upload all these videos, and the program that I used decided it didn't want to work, which is how I feel like life tends to go. So if it's starting to come out a little uneven, you can just push it back into a circle. I feel like I do this pie crust half with the rolling pin, half with my hands. So it's a little thicker on this side, which is okay. I'm going to take a little more flour. You want to try to apply even pressure. At least Bino helped wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We found out he may have a kidney stone, along with everything else that's going on with him. It happens with older dogs. So we're waiting for, I brought him to the vet, and we're waiting for some blood work to come back to see what exactly is going on with him. I'm hoping that this is all on camera. So I hit the camera box. Sorry. So if you think you're close to the size of your pie dish, you can check. I don't think I am. I think I still have a little bit to go, but you can check. Accidentally peeled that piece off. Just totally okay. Just roll it back in. But you can check to see if you're where you need to be. This little piece does not want to stick there anymore. Just by taking your dish and holding it. So we actually are pretty darn close. Might peel some of this off over here. It feels about the right thickness. Put it over here. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we're going to put this in, get the rolling pin out of my way without knocking everything down. We're gonna put this in our pie dish. So you can either, if you're good at rolling it around the rolling pin, awesome. If you're not good at rolling it around the rolling pin, use this. I just slide my hand underneath of it and just kind of bloop, and it peels off. Just kind of let it sit in there. This little part got a little thin because it broke off, but that's okay. We're just going to pat that little bit back in there. So if there's any part of your pie dish, like on this side where it's showing, it's probably okay for me, but you can take a little overhang from another piece of your pie and you can just stick it on there. I'm going to show you, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. You know what, I think I'm actually going to stop the camera and I'll bring you back. I'm going to wear it on my head so that you can definitely see what I'm doing to get the pie pinched. That's how I lay it in. You can wrap it around your rolling pin to lay it in, whatever works best for you. But I'm going to now wear the camera so you can watch me do the nice edge of the pie. Okay, so we're back. So I like make a fist to do my pie crust. And like, I don't know, I kind of like push it in. So I'm going to actually start a little bit over here. So my hand is up against here and I'm just kind of pushing. I might work my way around a few times just to make sure. So I'm just using my knuckles. Trying to keep my thumb out of the way so that you can see. So any overhang you can just take off. So that's extra stuff that we don't necessarily need, but we might use over here. I've never done this and tried to show anybody how to do it. I might actually put some of this right here. So my mother has what we call a hitchhiker's thumb. So when she puts her thumb this way, it doesn't go straight up. It goes like way back. I feel like because of that, her like pie, like little pie crusty things come out like way better. So the more dough you have, obviously, on the edge, the better you're going to get that little ridge. So that's why I'm saving any of the extra so that I can put it where I didn't have quite enough. And we'll work our way back around and make it a little bit better over there. So our oven, like I said, is already preheated. 425. We still have to bake the filling, but I'm going to put this in the 425 oven for like 3 minutes. You know, you don't want to really cook it yet, but you want to just kind of like seal it in. You got a little thick right there. I felt it. So this is where we're like running out, but that's totally okay because I think we still have enough over here that I can pull off and put over there. Just gotta take some of this right here. So we have this little area where it didn't really get like super like ridgy looking. So I'm just gonna take the butter is melting in my hands. That's why you don't want to touch the crust too much with your hands. And this was literally just pulled out of the refrigerator. But yeah, so now you have that nice little ridge that goes all the way around the crust that everybody loves. I'm almost like a perfectionist, so I sometimes go back and make sure that it's like super, super, super perfect. You don't have to. It doesn't even have to be as pretty as this. It can be prettier if you can make it prettier. But I'm sure if it's a homemade pie, nobody's going to care what the pie looks like, or the crust anyway. But yeah, that's how you get that perfect. And if you just keep following your knuckles, it'll stay, you know, in line. So you get all the way around, you get that nice little pie shape. All right, we'll be back and let's make the filling. All right, so we're gonna mix up the filling. So we have our can of, it's just regular pumpkin. I'm holding the camera. So make sure it's not pumpkin pie mix. It's just the regular pumpkin. And I pretty much am following the directions on the back of that can. So it's 1 can of the condensed milk. I think it's the evaporated. I have a can right here. Yeah, it's the evaporated milk, not condensed. I always get confused with them. 1 can of evaporated milk. Make sure you shake it really well before you pour it in. It should be about 1.5 cups. Then we have 3/4 of a cup of plain white sugar. And then we have our 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We have 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. We have 1/2 teaspoon of the ginger. And then we have 1/4 teaspoon of cloves and our 2 eggs. So we're going to mix the dry ingredients in this fancy little dish. I have used all of my mixing bowls for so many other recipes. Try to get you a good down. So I'm actually going to use handheld mixers for this as well. So we're going to take all of our dry ingredients and just put them in here. I'm going to use a spatula so I'm not dirtying another spoon. Spatulas will help me mix too. So hopefully your Thanksgiving is going well if you're watching this the morning of. Actually, no, you won't be. So I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving because the girls are not going to have pie until the day after Thanksgiving. I think they're going to fill up on everything else. So we're just going to save the pie until Black Friday. We're going to eat the pie, but I'm sure they're going to be too full to have any. So we're going to give it to them at home on Black Friday. And I'm sure they're going to absolutely love it because they did love the sweet potato pie. So yeah, I hope all of you enjoyed your Thanksgivings with your family. I absolutely love the way pie seasonings smell, taste too. So now that that's all mixed, we're gonna get I'm gonna get some of these things out of the way. I'm gonna get another mixing bowl. So I have this nice, make sure it's on camera. So I have this nice big mixing bowl, and we're gonna beat our eggs in it. Now you can crack your eggs in a separate container. I have run out of containers to put things in, so I'm just gonna crack it in here and make sure there's no shells in there. After I crack them, I am going to wash my hands, so I don't see any shells in there, so we did very good. So I'm washing my hands now. So we're going to beat the eggs. Like I said, I'm going to do this with a hand mixer. Just want to make sure that my cord doesn't knock anything over. It shouldn't. So I'll speed this up so you don't have to listen to the noise too much, but you're just going to beat this until it's really well beaten. Okay, so they're nice and fluffy looking, and we're going to, I'm pretty sure, just put the dry ingredients in. Yes, we are going to, I'm going to stir them in. So it says just stir everything else, so I think that's it for the beaters. I'm going to put a paper towel down so it doesn't drip all over my counter. There we go. So we're going to add the dry ingredients now to our beaten eggs. If you did use the egg beaters, I'm pretty sure it would be completely fine. Your handhelds, they are loud, so I'm just going to do it by hand with my spatula. Alright, so we have that all nice and mixed up. And I'm pretty sure it's the pumpkin pie seasoning, or pumpkin filling. It's so early in the morning. Yes. So we're going to do our pumpkin. The milk is the last to go. I'm not sure if it really matters for this recipe which order you do things in. As long as it's all really well incorporated. Some recipes you want to add certain things at certain times just because some things can't be overmixed, but I don't think that's the case with pumpkin pie. So I do have a friend. He was a very, very good customer when I had my barber shop. My Bill the Baker. And he actually says that he follows Libby's recipe. The only thing is he adds about 2 tablespoons of dark rum. We are not going to do that this year. I have done it in the past, and it really, you're cooking out the alcohol, but the flavor of the dark rum really does add a whole nother level to the pumpkin pie. I don't have dark rum on hand. I can't tell you the last time I actually drank. And I didn't want to go out and buy a giant bottle of dark rum just for pumpkin pie, because I'm not a rum drinker. So after we've added all that, we're going to gently stir. So we're not going to use the egg beaters for the milk. The evaporated milk. And you want to just make sure that it's all nicely incorporated. So if you're not going to, well, you're obviously not going to be using this for Thanksgiving because, not this year anyway, maybe next year, because I haven't shared it for Thanksgiving. But pumpkin pie is a great pie for Christmas or really any, I mean, everybody usually eats it in the fall, but you can make pumpkin pie in the middle of the summer if you want. I love pumpkin pie. It's one of my favorites. I do like sweet potato pie as well. Pumpkin pie is, I don't know. I like pumpkin pie more. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are going to be like, oh no, I love sweet potato pie more. And then there's some people that have never even had either because they don't do, you know, these types of things as a dessert, you know. They wouldn't put a squash in a dessert or something savory in a dessert. It's really, really good. So if you've never had sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie, I highly recommend you try one of them. So that's very well incorporated. So I'm going to go get our pie crust and we're going to just dump it in. So I've had this in the oven for 3 minutes. Just want to make sure we're on camera. So it's not enough to cook it, but it's enough to, you know, just make it a little, so it doesn't, I don't know, so it separates a little from the pumpkin pie. So we're just going to pour our mixture right in there. We're going to scoop out as much of this yummy stuff as we possibly can, which is a little difficult because I'm trying to do it with my not dominant hand. I'm left-handed, but I, for some reason, always set up the camera this way. I think the lighting is better on this side. I think I'm doing all right, though. So we do have a really, really tall pie filling, which is completely okay. It may shrink down a little bit. This may rise a little bit. So having it, you know, a little taller, having this, you know, a little taller is going to be completely okay. People love the crust anyway. So if this rises, it's still going to stay within our pie. If it shrinks down a little bit, no big deal. You have a little more crust. So our oven is preheated to 425 and we are going to stick this in for 15 minutes. And then we're going to reduce the heat. So I'll be back in 15 minutes and show you what it's looking like and tell you what the next step is. Okay, so our pie is in the oven. It's been in for 15 minutes. I'm going to turn the oven off. 15 minutes at 425. So now we are going to lower the temperature to 350. It's going to sing to me, telling me that it's, we'll just open it so it stops singing. So yeah, we're going to lower the temperature to 350 and we're going to let it bake for another 30 to 40 minutes. At 30 minutes, I am going to check it. You can see the crust is starting to shrink up, which is why I wanted to do such a big crust. So yeah, we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Okay, so we're back. The pie has been in the oven for 30 minutes. I have a knife here on a clean paper towel. So this is how you check. You want to just take a regular butter knife and just stick it in the middle. and pull it out. It came out very clean, which means our pie is done. I think that's why you always end up seeing a plus sign. So if it wasn't done, we'd stick it back in for another 5 or 10 minutes. Do the same thing. You stick the knife in. If it comes out perfectly clean like that, then your pie is done. You want it to rest and cool for at least 2 hours. So we're just going to keep it sitting here. It is on a hot plate, so it's not on the counter. It's up a little bit. If you have a cooling rack, that's probably even better. Yeah, so we're just going to let this sit and wait, but our pie is pretty much finished. So I hope you enjoy. Bye.